So we also have Andy, Mark, Justin, Sean, Wendy, and Maggie. Also here with us. You can stand for the pledge of allegiance. And pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have one open forum that we conducted. We'll discuss that later. The approval to the agenda. Okay. Let's see, item number 12 on the agenda, we're going to add open forum for group flu. Where are we? It's item 12.
Open forum.
Open forum. Is there an approval for the agenda?
Excuse me, there is no mics in here, so you guys are gonna have to speak up really loud for the camera.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Is there approval of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve consent.
I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Wright County?
Great. Not much to report. We had a parking complaint down at Excel Training Center. Cul-de-sac there. During my work, I haven't seen any. It's for semi-trucks parking down there. I haven't seen any during my work week. My partner said he had one. We're trying to get hold of the owner for it. But if you guys see any out there, give us a call. We will talk to them.
Was the complaint from XL or?
No, it's from the city.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Reports from council. Melissa?
So it looks like I attended an online webinar held by the League of Minnesota Cities a few weeks ago. Looks like we had our Young Yellow Ribbon meeting. We had the Buffalo High School graduation last week, and then the last city council meeting. The town hall meeting, I'm sorry.
I attended the city council meetings, the public works 49 union meeting, planning and zoning, town hall for the regional park, the Memorial Day ceremony, the teacher's tea, the arrival of the Army Corps, the ceremony for the re-enlisting of one of the soldiers the other day. I think that was all. Multiple meetings with the Army and residents.
And the council meetings and workshop, planning and zoning.
Fire department. Talk louder. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, council and mayor. First thing in your packet is the monthly activity report. So far this year, we're very down on calls, so it's been a quiet year for us, thankfully. But we've still been spending a lot of time out in the community doing trainings and things like that. So we're staying busy, even though we're not having a whole lot of calls. So if there's any questions on that, I can field them. And the other item that I have for you today is a new policy for our policy manual. It's policy number 105. It will be replacing the other two policies that are included in your packets, just to kind of streamline things a little bit more for us. The numbers are all staying the same. Wording is essentially all staying the same, except some of how we give credit and everything will go into a guideline format where the policy is just going to say, here's the minimum requirements that are required for you as a firefighter with the Montrose Fire Department. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve that policy, and it will go into effect today, basically.
I'll make the motion to approve the fire department's attendance policy number 105.
I will second that.
Melissa?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Vote aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ruth?
Weird about the podium. We had our meeting last Monday, and before I go into that, I want to remind myself to ask Justin if the revised map that we have, do you have that in PDF or electronic format at all that you'd be able to email that to either City Hall or Michelle or myself? We want to be able to put it up online. We've had some requests for that.
It's already done. I've already given it to Maggie.
Perfect.
There is a link.
Okay, perfect. Okay, as far as Park and Rec, you should have something in front of you regarding that. We want to make sure to mention we've got Summer Splash coming up July 15th at Northridge Park. We tried something called Pop-Up Park, if you guys aren't familiar with that. We kind of do a spur-of-the-moment treasure hunt and put clues online and hide stuff in one of the parks. And that went over really well. The teenage kids loved it. We had good feedback on that, so we'll be doing that periodically over the course of the summer. We had a new applicant, Kurt Anderson, to join our commission, and we would like your approval for that. If you get a motion to have him join our group.
You do it now.
You can do
I'll
it
make a
now.
motion to approve Kurt Anderson to Park and Rec.
I'll second that.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Perfect, thank you. We'll let him know. Last thing, we had a town hall meeting. It went pretty well, I thought. We had more people at that than we normally have show up to open meetings. There was a lot of discussion, both good and bad. The main topic within that, sadly, was budgeting and Justin. And so those are issues that the council will have to deal with. I think that is it, unless you guys have any questions for me. Oh, our meeting changed. Normally, our July meeting would be on Monday, July 3rd for Park and Rec. Due to the 4th of July holiday, it will be rescheduled for Thursday, I believe it's the 6th. Same time, same place. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Good, thank you.
I got one addition on that. The grant that the city of Montrose applied for through the DNR for the park shelter, the city was not selected this year. There was a certain amount of funding, and there was way more applied than what funding was available.
Was there any feedback on that, Justin, that you saw?
There was not in the letter that I saw, but we have requested some at least general feedback. So when we get that, I'll share that with the staff and you guys.
We can apply again next year.
Yes, yeah. Usually they tell you how many applicants there were and how much was awarded and such. So we'll be able to get that information. And then if they have any specific information or feedback relative to our specific application, we'll seek that as well.
Good. All right, thank you. Anything else, Sean? So the next item then is the property discussion of the Herzog property. Do you guys want to talk on this? You want me to?
You can start and we'll add in.
Basically, we all know that the regional park is right dead center of Jim Herzog's property. And they just want to, they have these concerns as to what's going on and just kind of keeping them up to date, which they have the plans currently, right? Those were all sent
Yes.
today. I think the main concern is that the back north side drop off, correct?
Well, yeah, how is it gonna look after it's done? We've got this huge drop off to the side. that, I mean, you could bury a truck over there, it drops off so severely. So where is that field gonna end up? Level with the road? Because it's a softball field, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, the front of our property is level with the road. The back of it does not level with the road. It goes downhill. So how is that going to work into our property?
We have along the tree line on the
Yeah.
back side.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
wood side.
Okay.
You're better at that than I am, yes.
I can go over the plans with you out there, might be more helpful, but there'll be a slope, it'll be sloped gradually. Right now, it's really stepped, and there's a lot of cuts and stuff like that back in there as they're rough grading it, but it'll be sloped down. The softball field will sit lower than your property, but it'll be sloped from your property line down to the softball field, and then obviously, softball field will be flat, and then I believe there's another small slope down to the baseball field, which is further north.
Yeah.
Obviously, these baseball and softball fields are very large, and so they have to be very flat, so we're kind of stuck with what we have. So there's a slope there that'll be coming down.
So they're gonna slope off the road also down?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So the whole
Yeah.
thing will be.
But as you get further north, that slope will basically go away, because there's a trail that goes between the baseball field and the softball field that split the two, and that trail will tie into the trail on County Road 12 onto the road. So it will still be lower, but it won't be nearly as much as it is all the way to the south.
So how much are you taking out by the front? I mean, how much?
The deepest cut along that point is 12 feet. That's obviously not right up against your property, that's more top,
The
kind
furthest
of the
going
top
out.
of the hill, yeah, it's 12 feet down. So there's a big cut right in there.
Yeah, right now it's a huge
It's
cut.
more
yeah.
than 12 feet at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah, it's down there.
We actually moved the fields back further to gradual that slope even more than what was initially planned.
All right,
Back to the north.
yeah, we pinned it as tight as we can to the north. Yeah.
So how about the back side then? Yeah, back where the street's gonna come through,
It'd be the west side of your west side of your
Yeah, the
property.
west side there.
Yeah,
Is
that,
that also gonna just slope, or is that gonna be?
yeah, it'll be sloped like we talked with your driveway there.
Yep.
That driveway will all be sloped down to the road, and I can't remember what the final grade was that we settled on, but, you know, I showed you that layout, how the driveway would come down to the road there and kind of come at an angle. Keep that driveway as long as possible, so you're not going real steep up there. But yeah, it's all gonna be sloped down.
So no retaining wall type?
No retaining
stuff,
walls,
Just
no.
all sloping?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, can we talk about the dirt? We have so much dirt everywhere, over everything we own. Windows, house, shed, cars, trucks, our feet. You can't sit in the grass. You can't sit on the chairs outside. This whole thing, we know it's gotta be done in that, but it's costing us money and time. We're not enjoying our month of June. It's constant beeping, 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 beeping. We just want some help with cleanup after it's all done.
What do you think it's gonna take to do this? What are you looking, what kind of help are you looking for?
Well, the house and shed are gonna need to be power washed. I mean, this stuff is caked on everything. You know?
Even after the rain came, I mean, still,
It doesn't come off.
that first weekend was.
I do appreciate the water trucks coming in, but it was a week late, you know? Those winds that we had that first week, it was all coming at us. We can't go outside, you can't breathe. It's right there. Our stove shakes when they're coming by the house. The one whole side of the wall shakes continuously if they're right, you know, moving those big earth movers.
You guys have any discussion? Any way that we can accommodate? Any solutions? I don't know.
I mean, we're going through more furnace filters. It's not, you know, it's, We know it's gotta be done and they're on a schedule and great. I'm so appreciative that they stayed and didn't work past 8 while school was still in. I understand now they're behind probably 10 or more hours at this point with the rain again today. But we're just supposed to eat all this at the end of it? That really isn't fair.
We're talking with them today, they will be starting, working till 9:30. Trucks will stop at 9:30, so they won't be out there until probably 10.
Yep.
So, any suggestions on,
But the only thing you can do with the dirt and dust is afterwards, and that's a couple weeks away. So,
What you do for one, though, you gotta do for the rest, and there's other people around there too.
but I haven't heard from any.
Yeah.
They're not sitting in the middle of it. We're in the center of this.
Right in the center of it. And they've got some too. I know they.
Yeah, I know, the one day, they were getting it too. But they're not getting it every day, all day long.
Well, we either want the park done or not, so.
Well, we're not saying that you shouldn't do the park. We're not saying that at all.
But it shouldn't cost us.
When all said and done,
Well,
We can use some
I
cleanup.
remember when Highway 12 was done, we paid for that from the trucks going by and that with our house, and there was other ones on there.
You want us to talk about this at staff level and see
Yeah,
if
we'll-
there's any ideas that we have?
right, yeah. Do you wanna do it at staff, personnel,
Staff.
whatever staff, and you guys meet next Tuesday, or is it tomorrow?
Be the third, I think it's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Okay.
We can always try and meet earlier.
I mean, you wouldn't be looking at doing, I mean, there's no use doing anything
No,
until
we're
after.
not saying
now.
now, we're just saying after it's done.
after we're said and done, and those guys are gone,
Right.
things are settled.
You're gonna look at graphic, agenda.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now to go out and mow our lawn, thank goodness it rained because you wouldn't have been able to mow it last week.
All the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go out there. You walk out in the grass and your socks are instantly brown because there's dirt everywhere.
Staff meets next Tuesday, and then they'll discuss it, and we'll keep you guys emailed, however we can do it.
And then the newest, like you said, the newest plat or blueprint of what's going on and how it's gonna lay out and stuff is available at this point?
I emailed it to, I responded all, you should have it on your email.
Yeah,
And then
that
it's
should
on-
come today.
I think
Okay, I
it's
didn't
also
look
on the
today.
website. Also on the website.
I'll look today then, tonight.
It should be the same as what I sent you, I think. I think I made it, I don't know if you,
We never sent
I made a copy for City Hall for you to pick up, maybe you never got it. That was a
Never.
couple months ago.
Never got it.
Yeah, because I think I know I made a copy and left it at the front desk of City Hall, and my understanding was you were gonna pick it up from City Hall when we met. So that
Well,
message must have got.
you said you would look into making a copy, but you never said you were going to leave one there. So we never went up there afterwards. If they would had a copy, it would have been nice to call. Because we've wanted one, we just never got one.
Is
You
that?
should have it in an email today, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's the newest, I mean, that's what they're.
That's the one they're building off of right now.
Right now,
Yep. Same one as what they're.
okay. It's like the picture we had at the last park meeting was of the original whole layout.
Right. Now, this one is the actual blueprints
Blueprints. and-
with the contours, the elevations,
everything.
everything.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll check that.
Anything else? Okay. As soon as they get discussion, we'll let you guys know.
It just would be staff communication.
Right.
Communication's a big thing.
All right. Thank you. Heidi, planning and zoning.
The May 17th minutes are available if you have any questions.
Excuse me, was there something else though that's gonna be discussed in the next planning authority meeting that kind of touches along with this?
Not specifically, no, unless there's direction from the council back to the planning commission, they weren't able to, they didn't have an agreement on whether it should or shouldn't, so
They were ended in a tie.
they did it in a tie, which means that
But I thought there also was another part of the ordinance or another ordinance that's
The other-
quite similar or tied in with this.
not specifically that they left off. So what they recommended was what's in front of you tonight, and then the council can provide direction. Maybe there wasn't any other recommendation, though. It was only the one recommendation. Yeah.
Could you please remember to speak up a little louder? It's kind of hard to hear.
Sure.
You want to do it, or Mark, you want
What
to
did-
talk about the ordinance that they did at?
Sure. Was there anything else on the first that did put the minutes?
We don't need to.
You just, so, sure. Honorable Mayor, council members, the item in front of you tonight is consideration of an amendment to the recreational vehicle parking ordinance. The Planning Commission considered this at two different dates, the April and May Planning Commission meetings. And at the May meeting, they actually held a public hearing as well to consider the amendment to the ordinance. The amendment is a result of some enforcement that the city started to do relating to enforcement of this parking ordinance earlier this year. And after letters were sent out and there were residents who had some impact from that, there were questions that were posed, and they were seeking additional clarification relating to certain provisions of this ordinance. And so the Planning Commission considered making amendments that essentially would answer or clarify certain pieces of the ordinance so that it was more easily understood and or that it was clearer to how the city would be enforcing and or just interpreting certain provisions that were set forth. And so with that, really what in the fall of 2016, the city adopted an amendment to this recreational vehicle parking ordinance, and that adoption last fall allowed for or provided for a side yard or rear yard parking place for recreational vehicles. Prior to the adoption of that amendment, the ordinance simply prohibited those vehicles from being parked on the driveway in the front yard. And so the ordinance, as it was amended in the fall of 2016, provided for a side yard pad, essentially, that could be parked on, or a rear yard pad that would allow recreational vehicles to be stored within on a person's yard. When that amendment was made, there were some questions specifically pertaining to some of the details of that ordinance. And so the details that were considered by the Planning Commission were what constitutes a Class 5 gravel parking pad. There's language in the ordinance that says that the equipment must be parked on a parking pad within the side or rear yard. And so there was questions on what constitutes that pad. And so the intent of the amendment for the first provision was to clarify that the parking pad needed to be constructed in accordance with the city detail for a standard driveway that the city already has in place. And so that language was added into the ordinance to be able to clarify that. The second question that came up is what constitutes a parking area. There's questions from residents relating to whether or not simply having, say, some kind of impervious surface underneath each one of the tires of the recreational vehicle would constitute a pad. And so the Planning Commission discussed that and determined that it was necessary to clarify that by talking about what the parking area should be. And it talks about that the parking area is a dedicated area that fully covers the entire ground surface beneath the recreational vehicle to be stored. And it specifically states impervious surface beneath just the tire shall not constitute a parking area. Again, in an attempt to just clarify so that everybody was on the same page as to what was the intent of this ordinance. And then thirdly, the Planning Commission discussed the provision that said accessible from a driveway. And so there was language that was developed that further specifies that accessible from a driveway means essentially that you'd have to be able to get to the parking area via a driveway without crossing through the front yard, so that you couldn't just kind of randomly have parking areas throughout the yard, that they really needed to be on the side of the yard that had the driveway for the house. And if you were going to access the rear of the yard would have to be accessed, could be accessed via a corner or a secondary street if you lived on a corner lot or an alley, if you had a way to get into the rear yard outside of the principal street. So with that, those were the primary provisions that were discussed. There was discussion during that meeting, again, just relating to whether or not there ought to be any other considerations made to allow parking in other areas of the lot, but ultimately the Planning Commission made the recommendation to amend the ordinance with just those three basic points covered in the ordinance amendment. One thing that we also did is we created this driveway and recreational vehicle parking standard detail, which further provides detail that was included in the packet. And that just helps to try to identify where the parking areas on a particular parcel would be. There was discussion that there are parcels in the city that don't have a side yard that would be able to accommodate either drive-through or actually parking a recreational vehicle. And ultimately, the Planning Commission's recommendation was that there's going to be some lots that don't accommodate recreational vehicles, and that's what it is. The intent was to keep them out of the front yard. So there was that discussion. The other provision then outside of that, they made a recommendation for the language that's included in the ordinance. There was some discussion relating to the seasonal parking of recreational vehicles, and the Planning Commission had a discussion. They made a motion to approve or essentially recommend that staff write a provision for seasonal parking. That motion failed for lack of a second, I believe, and then they made a motion to recommend that staff not do anything with recreational parking, and that also failed on a 2-2 tie. That did receive a second, but did not have a positive finding out of the Planning Commission. So with that, the only motion that was recommended to the City Council was adoption of the ordinance as presented here tonight. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions relating to the proposed amendment to the recreational vehicle parking.
So the basic is 2 recreational vehicles to the side of the house on a approved parking surface, nothing in the driveway forward, correct?
That's correct.
So nothing seasonal. So say if somebody had a camper for a couple months, a couple weeks, whatever, they really can't park it in their driveway.
Right, not in the driveway, only in the pad or whatever the pad would be that they'd be able to create.
Any discussion?
I mean, I think the way it's amended is good for clarification, but I have noticed, at least on my street, a couple of my neighbors have put in a parking pad instead of parking in their driveway, and I think that looks way worse than when they park in their driveway. I mean, it was nice and neat, parked in the driveway off to the side, everything looked good, it was well taken care of, and now they just threw down a bunch of paper blocks and it already looks terrible. I mean, I'd rather see them if they're in the driveway parked nice and neat, rather than start stuffing stuff behind your house, because now it looks like you have a junk pile behind your house, so. Campers.
Can I comment? Yes.
Yeah, Jamie, you have that?
I've done some research.
You have this.
I attended the planning and
You have to say who you are, please.
my name is James Kirkendall, 203 Garfield Avenue North. I attended the planning zone regarding recreation vehicles. And I at first asked that utility trailers be excluded from that because they serve a different purpose, and everybody takes their grass clippings, everything to the compost. That would be telling them they're down to 1 recreational vehicle. There was another lady there who commented on having a bump out on her driveway and having her boat there. And I did some looking into the internet, and I looked at Delano, Watertown, Waverly, and Buffalo, all our surrounding cities. I didn't find anything on there as to the number of recreation vehicles you can have, and I didn't find anything regarding driveway parking. So I took it a step further and I called each of them cities and talked to the city clerk or the city inspector. Delaware was a little reluctant when I first said that because he asked how big it was, and I stated, say like a fish house, and a fish house allowed to park in the driveway. Absolutely. I called Watertown and I asked them, are you allowed to park your recreational vehicles on your driveway? As long as you're not part of a development or an HOA, yes, the city allows it. I called Waverly, no problem. They're all for parking it on your driveway, and I called Buffalo, and Buffalo stated they wanted that limit of 2 recreation vehicles. They didn't mind them being parked in the driveway as long as they didn't block visibility of the right of way. So I don't understand why we have so many rules and regulations on not being able to park it on the driveway. I don't see what the issue is with that. As far as the 2 recreation limit, there's 4 seasons in the year. Basically, a winter and summer, everybody has a toy for their pick of the season, whether it's a boat, fish house, snowmobiles. I myself think 3 would be a reasonable number if you include the utility trailers. And I don't see why that would be an unreasonable amount of recreation people of Montrose are allowed to enjoy. So I've asked all the surrounding communities, and I just don't understand why we're different than they are around us. So.
I agree, I don't think it's very fair to limit it, because you're basically saying, well, if you have a fish house and a camper, then you can't go buy a snowmobile unless you can.
And our driveways, that in my opinion, that's what they're designed for, is as long as they're not impeding the sidewalk, but that's a safety issue, that's a different aspect. As long as they're not sticking on the street, but if you can contain them in your driveway, I don't see what the issue is. It's no different that you look at a fish house and you look at somebody's car, it might be a piece of junk, you know? Who's to say what looks more appropriate?
So are you then asking if a fish house could be there all year round? Or just
Why not?
What would you do with it?
You just
Store
can't
it.
be during summer.
Or a boat. A boat is not used all year round. So are we gonna store it or are we gonna see?
Well, outdoor storage, what's the difference if it's beside your house or if it's on the driveway?
Right, but then I think what the planning and zoning discussion was is having a boat, a camper, and all of them. Because you can store your boat or your fish house or, I get your utility trailer and get all that, but
That's what I say when they stated utility trailer being part of that. You basically rob the citizens of Montrose with one recreation vehicle, saying, well, you're using this for your leaves, whatever you pick up around. I mean, and some people may use a snowmobile trailer for that. So I don't know if classifying as a utility trailer would be fair to everybody because, you know, people use their trailers for different reasons. But I don't think 3 is an unreasonable number, considering, like I said, some people do stuff in winter, some people do stuff in summer.
If you got all that stuff parked in your driveway, where are you parking the cars?
It doesn't affect me. I spent $4,000 on the side of my garage to park my stuff.
Just to.
So I'm just stating that, you know, when you drive down our street, there's a lot of people who got their stuff in the driveway, and I don't see an issue with that.
As long as it's neat and clean, I
Exactly.
would rather see that. I mean, on our street at least, we have, I mean, there are people with campers, but there's plenty of space, I would think, either in their garage or their driveway, but we have people parked, both sides of the street are always full of cars. So, I mean, they're already parking on the street, they're not gonna move their cars off the street. At least on our street, they're not.
And like I said, my biggest complaint would be is, why do all the surrounding communities allow it and we don't? We're not in Edina, we're not Wayzata, we're not some big city, we're Montrose.
We're not a gated community.
Yeah.
this amendment was actually made up in 2011, so it wasn't really us, I mean, I don't know why it came about. Do you have any input, Ben? Do you have recreational vehicles?
Not in my house.
They're in storage.
Yeah, one's in storage, one's at my cabin. So, I mean, you say other communities around us. For instance, which communities did you check with?
I checked all of them, Delano, Watertown, Waverly, and Buffalo.
What does Delano allow?
Delano said that he didn't have a problem with, they didn't have a number. And he said, I asked him specifically regarding like a fish house in the driveway. Not a problem,
Okay.
Did you ask if it was all year round or just having fish ups?
just that, the fish house.
Like Waverly was how many?
Waverly didn't have a number either. She said as long as it's in your driveway or in your yard, they were all right with it.
Okay.
Watertown said as long as it's not an HOA, they're all right with it too. Buffalo had a limitation of 2, as long, and it's all right to park in your driveway as long as it's not blocking visibility of the right of way.
So we are somewhat in compliance then with what Buffalo is, correct? With
Well,
what you-
Buffalo's a little bigger than we are.
Yeah, but no, I'm just asking, we
Yeah.
are in compliance with similar to what Buffalo is.
But they allow it on the driveway, we don't.
We're only at the side,
Does anyone have any idea why we have just on the side of the garage and not in the driveway?
It was changed back in 2011, I think, is what we came up with, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can trace it, I don't know if it goes back before that. I know it's been in place for a while, but,
Right. And I don't know
just
why
never
that was
enforced.
something,
Yeah, it's just never been enforced, I think.
yeah.
Wholly, also.
Yep, yeah, I know it hasn't been enforced, it used to be in violation.
So,
And like I said, when it comes to utility trailers, a lot of people use different things, so I don't know if classifying it as utility trailers or just leaving it at 3 recreation vehicles, which would cover that. Because like I said, some people might use a snowmobile trailer to haul their stuff.
Yep.
any discussion?
What is,
In the planning and zoning, the discussion was
up to
2-2.
up to 2 recognition? Well, I think, really, I mean, to me, it needs to go back to planning and zoning.
Well, they were at a 2-2 tie. They just did it 'cause
They recommended as a group to amend what's currently written as presented to you today. When they discussed anything further about seasonal parking, that's where it failed.
because that would be too much for staff to go check out.
No, I just
Is that
don't
what
think I think it was 2-2 as to, I mean, it failed because 2 of them were for seasonal parking and 2 were against.
Right, the children's house.
Say, throw over.
Throw that tiebreaker.
Back to the plan.
Huh?
Send it back to the plan.
To me, I think we need to have their support before we move direction.
We can send it back.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
for
so,
him.
like that, yes.
Are we going to send it back with the recommendation of sticking with 2 recreational vehicles or considering adding the third? Which would then be in the driveway.
I just have one thing to say.
Yeah.
And I know I've said this before, but one thing you have to remember, and I know the planning commission talked about it, but there are developments in town that do not have 5-foot side yards. They were given variances at the time of construction to only have 5 foot and not 10 foot, but only 5 foot. Which if you have a 5-foot side yard, you have no way of getting to your backyard or putting a pad there. So I know planning commission probably says, well, that's too bad, then they shouldn't have bought their house, but you can't punish people. I mean, if you're gonna change the ordinance, and I know the ordinance was from 2006 or 2011, whatever, but it's the driveway part's never been enforced because I don't think anybody realized that wasn't part of it, because it used to be part of it. You used to be able to park in your driveway. At some point it got changed. I don't know why or how, but it did. And so now you're gonna go back and tell these people, well, sorry, but you can't have a vehicle or recreational vehicle, a boat, or because you can't get to your backyard, too bad. You know, so I think that's something they really need to consider, the planning commission.
Is having some legality in there for the ones that can't use their side
Right.
or get around to the back.
I mean, you have some people that have been here for probably 20 years and have parked a boat in their front yard, and now you're gonna tell them, sorry, either get rid of it or... I mean, so I think that's because they can't get to their backyard. So I think, I'm just saying maybe that's something that they really need to consider. I don't know if you want to do 2, 3 vehicles, whatever, but I'm just saying, like Melissa said, if it's in their front yard and their driveway and it's parked on the driveway and it looks nice rather than sitting back in a bunch of weeds somewhere, if they can't get to their backyard.
You're always gonna have people that aren't gonna pay attention to the ordinances. They're out there. But I mean, I just don't see why everybody in the community should suffer because you have feedback.
Well, I mean, if they're not listening to the ordinance now, are they gonna listen to it, if we amend it?
Yeah. They're not. Like I said, you're bad apples, you're bad apples in the garden.
Yep.
I just don't see why they said, I don't think 3 is a good number. Especially, like I said, if you're gonna include utility trailer in that, I think 3 is reasonable. We don't want a yard full of stuff, don't get me wrong, I understand that aspect too. But we're also not a HOA. Now we're not under, we shouldn't be under all these strict rules and regulations. People come out to suburbia and relax, have fun.
My point is, I mean, if you move to Montrose, you need to follow the ordinance. However, if you're gonna park it alongside your house, I think the part they did about the class 5 or the parking pads, absolutely, so that it's not sitting in a bunch of weeds.
Yes.
But I think they should also look at the fact as to whether or not you can put one in your front driveway or whatever in your driveway, even if it's a limit of 1 in your driveway, just for somebody that has a boat or,
That'd be a reasonable amount.
and the rest has to be in your side yard or something. I think you can't just take that all away and,
As long as it looks usable and being used.
yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's not a safety, you have to really block the sidewalk or it's in the street.
Yep.
So I think as far as, the part about the side or the back and what they did with that, I think planning did a great job on that. I think they need to just look a little bit further at like the parking in the driveway or something.
So that'd be up to for recreational vehicles.
So we're gonna make a motion to send it back. I'll make a motion to send it back.
You have to speak up though.
I'll make a motion to send it back to the planning and zoning commission with these prohibitions that we talked about.
I'll second the motion for sending it back there with recommendations of having up to 3 vehicles, the use of the driveway for 1, and then taking into consideration the housing lots that aren't allowed to have it next to it because of the built in reference to property lines.
Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 to send it back to the planning commission. Justin?
Mayor and Council, I have 2 items for you this evening. The first one is Whitetail Ridge Development. We have been continuing to work with the Source Land Capital, who is the current owner of the development out there. They own both first, what we call, I guess, the first phase and second phase. Phase line being split about where the disc golf course is. They've been working with the national builder for some time to finish off. Source Land would finish off the development and then sell the lots to this national builder. That's still in the works, and they are getting very, very, very close to closing on the property and making the deal final. But before they do that, the national builder is requesting that before they set a closing date, that they have a letter indicating that the city is ready to go ahead and issue building permits in that development. Until this time, we did indicate that to the developer, to the owner, Source Land, that we would not issue any building permits until in phase 2, until the wear course was completed, the sidewalks were completed, all the punch list items were completed. Previously, we didn't have testing that was completed on the utilities. The developer kind of walked away from it back in the downturn of the economy. So they've been out there, they've installed all the private utilities, so all the electric, gas, telephone, all that stuff is in there. Street lights are up, and all the city sewer, water, storm sewer has all been inspected, tested, everything's been repaired that needs to be repaired. Pretty much the punch list is substantially complete. The only major items left is the sidewalk and the wear course. They have requested, they have both of those scheduled for late June or early July. But in order for the national builder to get started, they are requesting that the city allow them to start building, but not issue a certificate of occupancy on anything until all punch list items are complete. And it'd be my recommendation that we go ahead and do that. We've done it previously with developments. We still have something to hang on to make sure that they get it finished by not issuing any certificate of occupancies. And I don't think, I think it's very advantageous for the city to get that development opened up for building. So I think that's a win-win for everybody. So I just wanted to bring that forth to you and I guess give the approval on that issue of building permits. I look for a motion, just a simple motion to authorize the staff to issue building permits in Whitetail Ridge.
I will make a motion to authorize the staff to issue building permits in Whitetail Ridge. According to Justin's memo.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion on it? Lloyd?
You say that, will there be like a letter of credit to make sure that?
There won't be, well, there is a little bit, I think, of letter of credit left, but really what we'll have is they won't be able to occupy the homes until the items are complete, until all of the items are complete. Yep, that's right. So they can build it, but they can't, nobody can live in it.
Yeah, they wouldn't have the right to build it if they can't sell.
Right. Yep.
So it's way over to it.
So Lloyd?
So I'll bid aye.
Alright. Ben?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Melissa? Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
And then the second item is the Garfield Avenue project. We have completed the plans for that project, consistent with what we discussed a couple meetings ago. So they are ready to go out for bid and seeking authorization to advertise for bids on that project. However, there's one other area that we need to talk about. It's the streets in Montrose Meadows Phase 1. It's Fieldcrest Avenue, Fairmount Avenue, 3rd Street South, Fieldcrest Court. Those areas were actually on the city's capital improvement plan. The streets were in pretty poor condition. This past winter, they basically completely deteriorated. And now they're to a point where they are in very, very poor condition and something needs to be done there. It would take a lot of work for the city to try to patch them up to something that would hold through the winter again. And it's going to take quite a bit of money to do that as well. All of which would probably be wasted money. Right now it's planned for 2021 tentatively in the city's capital improvement plan. I think with the wet fall that we had last year, it was extremely wet. There's a lot of groundwater in the ground in the spring as well. And that freeze-thaw condition, it took it away. We actually hired, we did some testing out there on the streets. We did what's called ground penetrating radar, where you drive a device across the roads to try and determine what is the section, what is the bituminous thickness out there, what is the aggregate base thickness. We basically did some investigation to see what is the issue out there, why are the streets breaking up this bad. What we found was that the bituminous ranged anywhere from 3.5 to 4 inches thick, which is standard thickness. That's the thickness that we build our roads on today. So that doesn't appear to be an issue. What is the issue is below the bituminous. There's only about 7 to 9 inches of a sandy material. It wasn't even a class 5 material, a gravel material. It was sandy with a little bit of rock in it. So it had very poor strength characteristics to it. And it was very, 7 to 9 inches is not adequate in clay soils to put up. So that was done. Unfortunately, that development was done before there was any engineering standards put in place. It was before we were city engineers. There was really no development standards in place at that time. So since that time, we've implemented development standards. We require a much thicker section on all our roads, but that one did get it. So what we're left with is a situation where we're probably going to need to excavate out the full width of the roadway. I think we can save the curb, excavate down from curb lip to curb lip and get a proper section in place there. I ran some quick numbers on it, and I'm thinking we're looking at somewhere in the vicinity of $250,000 to $300,000 for that project. We actually had $380,000 in the city's capital improvement plan for that project. However, it did include some additional streets. But those streets are looking like they're in good condition right now, and I don't think we're going to need to do anything with those streets for a while. So it does look like we would fall within that budget that was put in the capital improvement plan. The big thing is trying to make sure that staff needs to take a closer look at it. It's kind of just popped up, and we just got the testing results back within the last week, so we haven't had a chance to really sit down and look through all the details of it. But it would be advantageous to include that project in with the Garfield Avenue project to get the best price possible that we can get and do it all as one project. But I think we do need to do something there this year. And,
When you're looking at starting that project?
the proposed schedule that I put forth, if we want to go ahead and bid this other phase with it, would be to authorize or to advertise for bids June 27th, July 3rd, July 11th, open bids July 18th, and then I would propose to see if we could possibly hold a special council meeting sometime in late July, propose the fourth Monday of July to award that project, and then they would get going sometime in August or September and completed by the end of this year, by the end of October.
That whole development?
Yeah, that development, yeah. So my recommendation is to go ahead and at least get bids on the project, and we'll bid it separately as a separate, it'll be all one bid, but it'll be section A and section B, and then city council at that time can decide if they want to move forward with both sections or with just Garfield Avenue section. That way we have real numbers.
Yeah.
So any discussion? Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to allow staff to move forward with getting bids on this Garfield, 2nd Street, Fieldcrest, Fairmont, 3rd Street, all that area.
I'll second that.
Melissa? Aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. Personnel committee minutes, we discussed the fire department's new attendance policy, which we dealt with earlier in the meeting. There was some discussion on discipline of a couple of firefighters. We discussed the quarterly reviews for public works, those are coming up at the end of the month. And organization positivity, which is trying to get more positive feedback from each of our organizations. And if anybody has any suggestions on how to do that, we will gladly take them. Andy?
Mayor Council, one quick item tonight, under quick claim deed 111 Buffalo Avenue South. This item has come up in our staff meetings, and we thought that it would be good to put a deed in front of you tonight. This involves property owned by Sid Champlin at 111 Buffalo Avenue South, right up a block and down here. And Maggie or Justin or Martin maybe help me on some of the facts, but I believe that there was a proposal possibly to move some buildings on the parcels that consist of that property. And during this time frame, do I have that part right? I don't know.
Well, it doesn't come forth yet.
Hasn't come forth yet.
There's some planning to do something on that property right now, but we ran into an issue with the right of way, with the section that was owned by the city.
Right, so we were looking at the deed where that property was sold back in 2010, and there's a survey there that looked at it as well, and it showed this strip 6 foot wide in the north end of the property that
supposed to be used for street purposes. And a lot of these times when you have these properties, there are some really old easements or deeds that go into why this should be kept by a city, and whether it's an easement, whether the city owns that outright, et cetera. So we went back and worked with the title company to do a search, looking way back when, and nothing came up. They couldn't find anything. So the conclusion is that in 2010, when this property was sold, that somebody just put in there that a strip 6 feet wide extending across the northerly end of that property is to be used for street purposes. So that sort of makes a confusing question on, who owns what up there and why, and what's the source of title. So we talked about the staff level, and maybe Jessica can help me out, but it doesn't seem to be a city interest in that 6-foot strip of property on the north end. I mean, if you look at it, there's a sidewalk, and possibly there was a thought about adding a turn lane on there going to the south, but I don't think that's relevant anymore. So we don't have, at our level, we didn't have any problem saying the city can just give that 6-foot strip up, whether it was an easement or whether the city owned it outright, it doesn't matter. And that's the purpose of the quick claim deed that was drafted and is before you tonight. So it's kind of a cleanup of a title situation where the city really has no interest.
Any discussion? Is there a motion?
You just need a motion to allow this quick claim deed to go through then?
Right. And the city's not, it's a quick claim deed, so the city isn't making any representations that we own it, free, clear, blah, blah, blah. It's just, the city gets rid of it.
We basically give that 6 foot to Sid Chandler.
I'll make a motion to move forward with this quick claim deed to clear up the paperwork and allow the 6 feet to go to Mr. Sid Chandler.
I'll second.
Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Sean?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Quick item for you guys to consider tonight. The 2017 capital improvement plan identified lighting a couple different segments of walking trails within town. And when we discussed that in a workshop setting several months ago, I guess already, it was identified that this year is going to be designated on the walking trail between County Road 12 and Emerson Avenue north, just north of Old Mindy Lane. So we pulled our records from the solar lighting project that we did in 2014, and we're looking at it's a very, very similar system to what we installed back in 14 in the Pheasant Hills area. That light has performed flawlessly since we've installed it, and the proposal tonight, the light is very, very similar. It's actually more efficient than it was in 2014, and it's $93 cheaper. So we're recommending that we continue with Sol for the solar light project, and there's 1,240 some feet of walking trail there, so we're recommending 4 along that area yet to be identified. There's some trees that we have to kind of work around for charging on the solar panels. It was initially budgeted for $16,000. The 4 light packages come in at $13,600, which leaves a few dollars for the Public Works Department to install them.
Is there any way we can squeeze some more out of the budget to do from highway?
For 2018, we certainly can. For 2018, we certainly can.
So where do you want to put all of these? Is that, you're talking 12 and Emerson, that's a pretty long treed area.
Yeah, I was in there.
Solar's gonna,
I was in there last week, and there's gonna probably have to be some The lights will be set back to the north of the trail, so when the leaves are gone, it won't affect the charging as much as it is in the summertime, but they don't run as much in the summertime either, the days are longer. Couple items that we have to look at to square that away. However, that's also a very, very dark section, and it's pedestrian safety, I guess, would be a concern. So, I understand Lloyd's position too for Highway 12, but as the workshop, the conclusion out of the workshop was to do this section this year and then the other section next year. But the council can relook at that and can do it however you see fit. It doesn't matter to me.
I think that area is used quite frequently. I mean, I know we go through it quite a bit, and it's kind of spooky going through there. So my concern is how we're going to get the lighting into it, but it's definitely needed, so. Any discussion on this?
There might be in that low spot, it might be advantageous to, I guess it'd be on the eastern end of that trail to put in a conventional light or someone and a solar light. And then spread those solar lights out further west.
I'll make a motion to go ahead with the solar.
Second that motion?
Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Maggie. Mayor and Council, in front of you today is a resolution approving to move to open book assessment meetings. This was presented at the previous meeting with information about what an open book meeting would look like. It would essentially move away from the local board of appeal and equalization meeting, which is held every year. It would replace with an open book meeting that is offered by Wright County. In the resolution, it just kind of talks about the benefits of going to that format. It would allow more flexibility to residential property owners to schedule a time with the assessor to review their property, and it would allow more time. Meetings are usually in June and July instead of the regularly scheduled, like you guys was in April. At the last meeting, it was asked of staff to bring forth a resolution that would approve this the process of switching to the open book meeting instead of the local board of appeals and equalization format that we had been doing.
I'll make a motion to go ahead with the open book. It's better for the residents.
I will second that. Lloyd?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. Would you want that one?
I can do that quick. So, with the new law change for Sunday off-sale liquor sales, what the state of Minnesota says is the city just needs to amend their ordinance that allows for Sunday sales. So the ordinance before you is an amendment to our Chapter 80, which is our intoxicating liquor, and specifically I did 80.02C and 80.02D. 80.02C is Sunday on-sale liquor. The state has changed that also from 10 a.m. on Sundays to 8 a.m. to allow for restaurants that serve brunch to be able to serve alcohol at 8 a.m. And then D, I did the off-sale license, and I actually used the state guidelines with the sales between 11 and 6 p.m. on Sunday, not before 8 or after 10, Monday through Saturday. No sales on Thanksgiving, no sales on Christmas, and no sales after 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve. So just asking for you to approve the ordinance amendment to allow for the change in the liquor sales.
It wouldn't go into effect until.
It'll go into effect July 1st.
I will make a motion to accept the ordinance change to ordinance number 2017-04 for the intoxicating liquors.
I will second that. Lloyd?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Melissa? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Upcoming meetings is June 20th, Highway 12th meeting, which is great, because they haven't met for a long time. June 21st is City Council workshop for Wright County. June 21st is also planning and zoning meeting. Open forum.
Oh, okay, can I just ask?
Oh,
I
yeah.
forgot to ask before the personnel committee minutes, where they also meet on July 3rd. Is there time to change that, or?
July.
Because it's the first Monday.
Parking lot.
Oh, yeah, because it's a holiday. Well, we're not closed, so we'll continue. Yes. Yeah. We changed Okay, anyway, open forum is brew.
And after reviewing my notes and thinking, we can, if Melissa and Ben would be willing to stay for a few moments, we'll allow everyone else to go home and I can ask them my questions without having to make everybody else stay.
Sure.
It's her open forum, was beyond the yellow ribbon.
Okay, yeah.
Acknowledgements, we need to make a correction from the May 8th City Council meeting to acknowledge the House of Grace, the feed program, and the Montrose Lions for providing the appreciation dinner for the fire department. And I also just want to thank the Army Corps for being here. They're doing an amazing job. Great guys to work with. I've been able to deal with a lot of meetings with them. Got to see the re-enlisting of one of their soldiers, which I do have to say I was kind of disappointed that no council members showed up for that, but there's an email. Everybody received an email. You didn't email?
There was an email when they were going on and they said he made right. So, that's,
I should say email. Yep, that was the same notice that was posted at City Hall and
They're doing a shift change, or changing rotations this week, so if you see anybody out there that's been working, they'll be going home on Thursday, right? Wednesday of this week, so just, if you see anybody and want to thank them now, because there'll be new rotation coming in.
Has anybody been out there to check the site, meet the soldiers?
I've been past it, looked at it, due to my work schedule, I've not been able to stop and talk to them on site, but I talked to a couple here at the fire department meeting.
Anybody else acknowledgements?
One thing community can do is they've got roughly 2 weeks left. Bottled water is something that is very accepted by these guys. So, but it's best to deliver here, and there's always somebody is here, or on the side door, south side. But they can use bottled water.
Any other acknowledgements? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.